Welcome to the Sage Intacct Daily Demo. I'm Bob Shaga with Sage, and today I'm going to share with you some of the things that make Sage Intacct the one and only preferred provider of financial management software for the AICPA. I'll dive into how you get to immediate visibility, organizational insight, and financial control, as well as how you can document decisions in the context of your financial records. Before I get into the main content, let's go over a few housekeeping items. During the presentation, feel free to type questions into the chat box or Q&A box. I'll try to get to all the questions during the webinar. If I don't get to all your questions, I'll follow up afterwards. You'll also receive a link to the recorded webinar as a follow-up to this event. Also, please take a few minutes to fill out the survey. We use these surveys to help improve future webinars. Well, we started as a leading cloud accounting solution. Sage Intacct brings much more to the table. Our natively connected solutions across accounting and ERP, planning and analytics, as well as HR and payroll, give accounting and finance leaders seamlessly connected solutions where it matters most. Our goal is to help you thrive in today's digital world by freeing up more time for you to think strategically and guide your organization, enabling you to budget, plan, and quickly adapt to changing conditions, and getting you up-to-the-minute predictive insights to inform data-driven decisions. Now, let's jump into looking at how Sage Intacct Accounting provides immediate visibility. Immediate visibility is how you get information about your entire organization right away. On the screen right now is an image of a dashboard, and I'm going to jump into the system and show this actual dashboard to walk through some of the ways it gives us immediate visibility into the company. In this demo environment, we've got a multi-entity company. This example company works with security systems, but it could be any kind of company, like services, software, healthcare, and so on. Let me point out some of the general items in this screen. First, I have 4 entities. This shows in some of the reporting that goes into the different locations. By going to this button that says Top Level, I'm at the top level right now. I can drop down into any of these companies from here. What you're seeing right now at the top level is the consolidated view of financials across all of these entities. I have a real-time view of assets, revenue, net income, and expenses with performance cards. I could create other performance cards like this. Each of these performance cards shows a summation of an account group. For example, in the case of asset, I've taken all the asset accounts and created a summary of these accounts for the current month. Underneath the summary, I can see a comparison of prior month, giving me a performance trend at a glance. I can see the assets have gone up. This is a good thing. Revenue and net income have also gone up. Also expenses, but that's not necessarily a great thing. But it isn't a worry if it stays in line with growth. I can also look at charts and graphs, like those on my dashboard. I can create additional charts and graphs and add them to the dashboard. My reports show amounts that I can drill down into right from the dashboard. I also have a component from our analytics tool, Interactive Visual Explorer, with predictive capabilities. With Visual Explorer, you can analyze a trend or spot an opportunity while you still have time to do something about it. I'll show you how I navigate to each entity. I just drop down here and select the Texas entity. The system loads a new tab with the same dashboard and with the same performance cards, only now we're only looking at the metrics for the Texas entity. I have a question coming in. It says, can the people working in the other entity do accounting for that entity? That's a good question. To restate the question in terms of this example, if I'm working in Texas, can I do the accounting in Texas, or does someone at the top level have to do that accounting? You can create users at the entity level like Texas. For example, people in the Texas office can log into just the Texas entity and do accounting for that entity. They wouldn't see any of the other entities or locations, and then at the top level, we can see everything rolled up. I'm going to move forward on our agenda. Now I'm going to walk through organizational insight, how Sage Intacct helps you get deeper insight into your organization to make those key decisions that drive success. This ties into what I talked about earlier, with our natively connected solutions that seamlessly bring together predictive analytics and planning solutions to get a complete picture of how you're doing and adjust as necessary to navigate ever-changing conditions. These solutions are part of our focus on providing customers with the tools and technology they need to scale and guide their organizations. The demo I've been showing you has 4 entities with a shared chart of accounts. Sage Intacct also allows for multi-entity organizations with different charts of accounts, as in this more global organization. Let's jump back into my demo environment to look at how this organizational insight works. As I just showed you from the top level, I have 4 entities. Now I can break down or filter this information to take a deeper dive into the company's financials. Again, this is from the top level. I'm able to look across all the companies and across all the entities within the company and analyze information for all those entities. Here with assets, we're looking at a summary of accounts. You'll notice that it turns blue when I roll over it. I can click on that and drill down into all the accounts that make up the summary. I can further drill down on these accounts and see the transactions creating the account value. I can see all the general ledger journal entries, and with just a few clicks, I get to source information behind the summaries. We can also roll over charts and drill down on reports. For instance, in this bar graph, as I roll over Texas, I see the amount behind the bar. I can also see the amount behind Maine, California, and Florida. The same with any of these charts. I can also expand any of these charts. These reports and charts aren't limited to a library of pre-built reports. Using built-in reporting tools, you can edit or create your own financial reports that slice and dice information from the general ledger. You can also create your own transactional reports that span related data tables using the Sage Intacct Interactive Custom Report Writer. This example of an interactive report in the report writer is looking at live data to show me exactly what I'm getting as I build it. You can do advanced analysis, including trends and pivot tables, without making a trip to Excel. In addition to drill down and expansion, we have this concept of dimensions. The way I break down net income by location here is an illustration of dimensions. Each location is a dimension tracked in the system. Item is also a dimension, and this allows me to look at revenue by item. In fact, I could break down revenue by any available dimension. If this were a services company, I might choose to look at revenue per employee or revenue per project or that sort of thing. I have a question that came in. It asks, how many dimensions come with Sage Intacct? Sage Intacct has 11 predefined dimensions, which include location, department, customer, vendor, item, employee, and class, as well as industry-specific dimensions like projects, tasks, contracts, and warehouse. Users can also define their own dimensions for things that drive their business. For example, if you run a printing company, you could track revenue and expenses by your different presses to determine the value that each press brings to the business. Nonprofit organizations often enable user-defined dimensions to track grants and funds. In addition to dimensions, another way we break down information is by statistical accounts. A statistical account keeps track of non-financial information like headcount or floor space or hours. In this case, we have revenue per retail hour by location. Revenue per retail hour shows a calculation using a statistical account called retail hours and financial accounts revenue. The retail hours statistical account collects retail hours in Texas, Maine, California, and Florida, and then I break down the revenue for each location by the number of retail hours for the location to get an amount that we see when we roll over, say, Texas. When we capture the operational information right inside the system, we're able to use it more robustly without turning to external spreadsheets. I have another question coming in. What if I have companies with different charts of accounts, like companies in countries with strict chart of account guidelines? So far, we've looked at a company where the entities share a single chart of accounts that continuously consolidate as the information rolls in. If you have entities with different charts of accounts or even different base currencies, Sage Intacct Global Consolidation rolls them up to a single consolidated entity in a single currency for reporting across the organization. This can be done with a couple of clicks or even run on a schedule with an API request. It only takes a few seconds or minutes to run depending on the amount of data being consolidated. We have customers running global consolidations daily and some hourly during their end of period close. As you plan for expansion and growth, Sage Intacct Planning also leverages account dimensions and entity structures. It natively connects to Sage Intacct Accounting and was built for finance users. It can easily build budgets based on prior actuals and get instant budget to actual reporting to keep the company on track to achieve financial goals. If I need to course correct, I have what-if scenario modeling. This lets me quickly build and compare different combinations of future outcomes. This way I can pick the best path forward for my organization. As I move back to today's agenda, I hope you're getting a sense of how Sage Intacct helps you get to the key decision-making metrics that drive your organization and drive it across different entities. In this next section on financial controls, I'm going to show you how Sage Intacct helps you maintain financial control in your organization. I'm going to walk through order entry and purchasing to demonstrate the different workflows and processes that are in place to keep you in control. A lot of financial control revolves around money coming into the company and going out of the company, the transactions. And most of our transactions happen at the entity level. I'm going to switch over to this tab for the Texas entity. Then I'll jump over to order entry. This is the overview map. It shows links to basic data or objects like customers, warehouses, product lines, items, and so on. We also have our tasks or our workflow. We can create a single quote, convert that to an order, then convert that to a fulfillment document, and finally create a sales invoice off of that. By clicking this task on the menu or on the main navigation menu, clicking the plus sign, I can create a new sales order. Or I can just click the name sales order to see a list of sales orders. Since you've all seen what it looks like to enter data on a form, I'm going to pull up some existing sales orders. As I go through this list of sales orders, I have this company, Texas Alarm Company, and they're asking about an order that they have a sales order number for. I can go ahead and use the order number, and as I bring up the order, I can see everything I need to know about this for the customer. I see a transaction date, the due date, the item total and subtotal. Scrolling down, I see the line item showing what was ordered and how much it costs. I want to see if the sales order has been converted. Looking at the history tab, I see that we created a shipper and shipped the order. We also created an invoice for that. From here, I can pull up the sales invoice, look at any information around the invoice, and I can access all this while I've got the customer on the phone. I'm creating a better customer experience while enjoying better visibility and control in the financial system. I've received another question. It says, can I bring in orders from Salesforce? Definitely yes. I'll bring up a demo company here that's associated with a Salesforce instance. I'll also bring up the associated sample Salesforce instance. You may know that in Salesforce we create opportunities. This opportunity represents an XYZ shoe order, and it shows the product that I'm selling. It also shows sales orders and a sales invoice created for the opportunity. There's a back and forth communication. Once I create an opportunity, I simply choose Create Sales Invoices or Create Sales Order, and Salesforce sends the transaction over to Sage Intacct. In Sage Intacct, in this order entry transaction list, I see that I have this XYZ shoe order. I can tell by the reference number that this is from the opportunity in Salesforce. I can also see all the information inside the order entry system. This integration allows salespeople to work in Salesforce and finance people to work in Sage Intacct. Jumping back to the Texas entity in this main demo company, you can see that each line item has additional fields. If this order is a subscription, I have the option of creating start and end dates and setting a renewal template for the order. I can also set up different dimensions for this order that'll track with it all the way through to the general ledger. Let's move over to look at purchasing. Like order entry, we have an overview map that shows our workflow through requisition to purchase orders, receivers, and eventually vendor invoices. I'll go ahead and create a purchase order. I'm just going to click on the purchase order icon to create this new purchase order. Know that if your main job revolves around purchasing, you can set this map as your home page at login. Our example company needs more stock, so I'm going to create a PO to buy items from Defender USA. I'm going to purchase 10 more of these Defender systems. I can see the extended price. As I create additional line items, the system will keep giving me lines as I enter them. Just like in order entry, I see the default vendor contacts and all the different controls. My header shows all the information for this transaction so far with all my information entered. I'll post this purchase order. Now some days go by and I receive the order from the vendor. Now I go to this purchase order and convert it to a receiver. Come to find out, the vendor's low on the quantity. On my receiver, I note that I received 8 of these. I don't want to pay for 10 when I only got 8. With the receiver updated, I'm going to post it. I can now convert this receiver to a vendor invoice. I see that everything is in here the way I expect it to be. I can add the vendor document number and post that to the vendor invoice. Now I have this vendor invoice posted in purchasing, but it did something else. It went over to accounts payable and it created a bill. So now if I go into my bills and accounts payable, I see that I have this new bill to Defender USA. I can choose the bill and see everything that's on it. Now it's keeping track by account and amount rather than item and quantity. This is going to fall nicely into my chart of accounts and hit the general ledger. I've still got all the information about the bill, and from here I can select bills to pay and move my payment process forward. On the back end, where I need to distribute indirect costs or revenue across departments, locations, or some other dimensions, like a product or project, dynamic allocations let me set up automated allocation journal entries to properly allocate periodic expenses and revenue that run automatically. With these allocations set up and running, I get a clear view of the true performance of my organization without having to run complex calculations in spreadsheets. Now let's look at how Sage Intacct enables you to automate the process of paying vendor bills. Vendor payments, built and sponsored by Sage Intacct, enables you to pay bills in a few clicks. Payments are processed through CSI, a trusted payment service provider that securely processes your payments. Pay the way your vendor prefers: check, ACH, or virtual card. CSI handles everything. No check printing, envelope stuffing, or ACH files to handle. Your payment status is available within Sage Intacct, and transactions are auto-matched for easy reconciliations. The entire workflow from bill to reconciliation and reporting takes place all within Sage Intacct. Jumping back over to our system, Sage Intacct built-in approval processes let me set approval requirements on bills waiting to be paid. I can even set up approvals on a requisition before the purchasing process goes too far down the road. Approval can be set by dollar amount, by department, or by individual approvers. You can choose to have one approver at a certain dollar amount and then 2 or 3 approvers at higher dollar amounts. Approval notices get sent out to the approvers automatically, and they can approve with a mobile device, and you're not left playing find the manager to get the purchases approved. I have a question that came in on purchasing. Well, it's on vendors actually. Are vendor payments only made from the top level? Well, the short answer is not necessarily. You can set things up that way. When you create a vendor or customer, you can use them across the organization or limit them to certain entities. This can be useful in keeping the list of vendors and customers short at the local level by not having vendors or customers that don't apply to that entity. For example, you don't want folks in Bangor, Maine worrying about paying a plumber in Dallas, Texas. However, you can also create approvals that keep control at the top level. By controlling vendors from the top level in a multi-entity organization, you can better manage costs and vendor performance. You can get the economies of scale by purchasing in bulk and then distributing to your different entities. You can also keep an eye on vendors to see who's delivering on time and as ordered and who's frequently not delivering. Essentially, you can move from having purchasing managers at each location doing their own thing to a controlled, budgeted procurement process. I want to mention that Sage Intacct has also employed AI and machine learning to help approvers with their review and approvals and achieving higher accuracy. With general ledger outlier detection, the system scans through thousands of general ledger entries in minutes to find potential errors earlier when the cost to fix is lower and before they reach stakeholders. Let's look at one more area of control and visibility, knowing our actual cash position. With automated bank reconciliations connected to thousands of banks worldwide, we can reconcile daily and always know where our cash stands. This is part of the Sage Intacct push for real-time, trusted visibility through continual close. Now that you have a better understanding of controls, let's move ahead to the next section. In this section, I'll talk about documenting decisions and how Sage Intacct is all about documenting them in the context of your financial records. This isn't just about keeping notes in meetings. We keep track of conversations in a way that they can be easily found and looked at later. This is the same dashboard we've been looking at. I'll circle back to this revenue per retail hour and to the percentage of income chart. We see that as a percentage of revenue, California represents a large part of the company's net income. Maine is very small. Texas almost matches up with California, and Florida is competing with Maine. But if we look at revenue per retail hour, we see who is dominant in efficiency. Moving over to the Collaborate feed, we see a note from Joanne, one of our financial staff. She says, Texas and California are showing similar revenue, but Texas is outperforming on a revenue per retail hour basis. Could we be having sales performance issues? And then there's a response. Perhaps a temporary shift in management talent would bring up the California numbers. This can be brought up with the board to make decisions at the macro level about the company and strategy, and then documented here to retrieve at any time. Jumping over to another demo organization, I'll show you another place we can document the why behind financial decisions. I can go directly to my Collaborate feed, which allows me to store these conversations with linked transactions. Clicking through the related transaction, I see the subject of the conversation. We have a journal entry regarding penalties and a note with this journal entry. Team, I'm looking at our latest list of open items for month end. Who can tell me what this adjustment is for? Amy Dunn says, I created a support schedule that shows my calculation analysis for the entry. Notice that she's attached the spreadsheet and essentially stored it with the journal entry conversation. So months or a year from now, when we're looking at these transactions, we can see this conversation and understand what's happening. That's the power of a collaborative tool to document these collaborative decisions. Now I'm going back to our agenda to summarize what we've talked about. We looked at how Sage Intacct consolidates information across your organization and how dashboards help you visualize that information in a more immediate way. We drilled down to get to the detailed information inside the system to make better decisions. I demonstrated how you can collaborate within your organization. You can take all the data that you're getting and work together to come up with solutions. I also showed how you can make decisions about what you're going to do next and then document those decisions in the context of your organization. We really do want to be our customers' partner for the life of their business. Part of that is being able to grow with them by integrating with solutions that change as their needs change. With our open APIs, you can integrate with any system that has integration capabilities. You can also choose from dozens of services on the Sage Intacct marketplace, covering CRM, payment services, payroll, point of sale, warehouse management, and much more. With Sage Intacct, you get a partner that's invested in your long-term success. Your success is our mission, and we'll be your partner for the long term. Everything we do starts with the customer, from our core values to the Customer for Life program. We don't do drive-by selling, and we'll work to earn and keep your trust year after year. With CPAs throughout every part of Sage Intacct, you can rest assured that we truly understand your needs and will continue to deliver solutions to support you every step of the way. We have the leading cloud accounting and ERP solution, seamlessly connected to planning and analytics for businesses like yours. Don't just take our word for it. Sage Intacct is the one and only preferred provider of financial management software for the AICPA. With over 431,000 members, they've seen every accounting solution out there. And of all the systems, ours is the only one they prefer. We're also proud to be ranked as a leader in customer satisfaction by G2 and have been since 2015 based on reviews from verified customers. We continue to be ranked number 1 across several G2 grid reports year after year. Our high satisfaction scores come from the way our product meets current business requirements and product direction, and the way we focused on software to meet the needs of accounting and finance teams and meet our customers' needs every quarter when we do a new release. We're built to scale, so Sage Intacct will be the right solution for you today and tomorrow. Whether you're a small, growing organization or an established public company, we're the right partner for your long-term success. It looks like we're getting close to the end of our time here. I'm not going to answer any additional questions at this point, but if you have any questions, please type them in the chat area or the QA area so that we can get those answered for you by email. If you're looking for additional information about Sage Intacct, you can take our 30-day free trial. You can attend an upcoming webinar listed at sageintacct.com/webinars. Follow us on Twitter, connect with us on Facebook, or contact us directly by email or on the phone. We'd love to talk to you and help you grow your business. Our top goal is helping you make a big difference in your organization. Thank you for joining us today. Oh, and please fill out the survey at the end of the webinar. I hope you have a great rest of your day.